Should be good now.
Okay. Well, 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to take attendance first. Sandy, are you here?
I'm here.
And Dan?
Present.
I see you there. Heather?
Present.
Christine? Yes? Okay. Okay, so next item on the agenda is, does anyone have any written disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest? Councillor Cross.
No, I don't.
Councillor Maxwell?
I have one. It's, I'm not sure which letter it is. It's probably L, I think. It's regarding a severance application. My name is on it.
Okay, okay.
I guess, sure, there it is. It's L, yes.
L, yeah.
So have you submitted the written disclosure or you're just voicing it?
Yes, I have. I've done it by email
Okay.
today.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Can you bring down the...
I don't have any.
Sorry.
Right.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Olmsted, do you have any written disclosure of pecuniary conflict of
I
interest?
don't think so.
Okay, and Councillor Shipman?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is, excuse me, petitions and delegations, of which we have none. The next item on the agenda is number 4, reports from municipal officers. First person listed is Dean Maxwell, our fire chief. Are you there, Dean?
You're on mute, Dean.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Right on. Okay, very good. So for the month of June, we had 2 structure fires. It started off pretty busy for us the month of June. We did an automatic aid for a structure fire for Papineau on Highway 17 East, which was the Welcome Inn building. It was a fairly big unit that caught fire there. It was a 8 section unit that caught fire there. It was going pretty good when we showed up on scene, and we had a south wind that was feeding it. So we just aided Papineau with our 2 tankers and some manpower. We sent 7 guys. We had the fire knocked down within an hour and then back in the township. On June 14th, we had a garage fire on 925 Suzanne Road. And again, we automatically paid show Papineau, so Papineau showed up with 2 tankers as well. This structure was a garage of 60 by 40 in size. It had a really good head start on us because of the landowner was out and about on his property, and when he come back, he noticed the garage was on fire. The roof was already, when we showed up on scene, the roof had already fallen in. It took us about an hour to knock it down, and 16,000 gallons to knock the fire down. There was numerous stuff from firewood to all kinds of tractors and lawnmowers and all that stuff. 6,500 gallons of that 16,000 gallons was brought in from Papineau that we used them. So that's a good, shows how good our automatic aid system works actually for us. They brought us 7 guys as well with 2 tankers and some guys. So it works, it reciprocates back and forth, which works really well. So I just want to emphasize how important that is, that we have that great agreement with Papineau. On June 3rd for meeting nights, we just debriefed fire calls, our calls, and then we put our gear back into service. We have to wash our hose and just give everything's got to be coming down and scrubbed. On June 10th, we burned a brush pile for a Calvin resident. She just had a concern that it was too close to the building, and we like doing stuff like that. It's a good training for us. We take the pumper out and we do a pumper training. We turn it into a training night. On June 17th, We debriefed our call from that structure fire that we had on Suzanne Road, and again, repack our hose and put our gear back in service. On June 24th, we had our forestry equipment out. We do a training on Suzanne Road where we run both the forestry pumps and some hoses, and we go over just kind of debrief with the guys and stuff like that. For truck status report, all trucks are running good. And from Chief's report, I have West Nipissing First Nations had a 98 pumper that they were looking to get rid of. After looking into the pictures, this truck is kind of a good example of a city truck. It only has one intake on the one side, which is not really good for us. It's more meant for hooked up to the hydrant. It didn't have the stuff that we needed. It's more of like what I would call a city pumper, not a rural pumper. I thought what he was asking for was quite a bit for it too as well, because like it's getting up there in age and stuff. So I contacted him today and I just told him that we're going to pass on this pumper because it needed some work as well. So by the time we did all the work and everything else, we'd pretty well be in the same boat that we are now. So we're going to pass on that. And I just finished a new application form for all new firefighters. So I went through and there's a lot, it's just more specific, more questions, more information, and that just allows me to make a better decision on what kind of guy we're going to get for the fire department. And that's pretty well it. Any got any questions? No?
Mayor Pennell, you're on mute.
Sandy, any questions? I'm sorry.
No questions. I like your new format on your report here with the protecting Calgary since 1976. You gotten creative.
That's a new laptop we got.
Ah, okay. Well, see, you're putting it to the work. That's all.
Yeah.
Any questions, Councillor Maxwell?
No questions. Thank you.
Councillor Olmsted?
No questions, thank you.
Councillor Shippen?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Next gentleman up is Mr. Grove, Recreation, Landfill, and Cemetery. Can you proceed, Jacob?
Hello. Yes, this month, at the end of June, we had both the students started working at the community center. One is just working on Tuesdays before the landfill. And then the other one we have working 4 or 5 days a week, depending whether or not they're going to be at the landfill on the Saturday. Both of them have been working really good and have been a really big help at getting things caught up around the community center. The grounds are starting to look good again. We've been able to get the flower beds have been weeded, the soil and mulch has been added, as well as the flower pots have been put back out in front of the municipal office. The regular grounds maintenance has been ongoing around the community center. We had an issue with the Little Husky. The steering components wore out in it. All those parts have been ordered and they're expected to be in early August. And then we'll be able to get that one back up and running again. For the meantime, we've brought the big Husky down from the cemetery to use around the community center. We've been able to till the soil in the playground, to loosen it up again, to remove any of the grass, and to make a safer play surface. For landfill, we went up and hand spread some calcium around the roads in there to help keep the dust down when the vehicles are coming in and out of the landfill. Hazardous waste has been taken to the hazardous waste depot. They're no longer able to accept the fluorescent bulbs from us, as we're considered a business. But if our residents take the bulbs to them on their own, they're still able to take them from them because it's then considered residential.
Is there a limit per number of bulbs per resident? Do you know?
No, I don't think there's a limit. It's just when it's commercial, it's such a large volume coming in at once. When it's a resident, they're bringing 4 or 5 of the fluorescent bulbs. So I talked with the guys at the hazardous waste depot. They told me where they take their bulbs to have them recycled. So I arranged to take them in there and got them recycled. It wound up costing us just under $210 to have them recycled. The scrap metal bins have been ordered. We were able to ship one out already, and we have another one there that will be filled once we have a chance to get back up there with the backhoe again to load it up. The compactor truck has been running well. With the warm weather, we haven't had many problems with the hard starts that we were in the spring. The truck was low on oil, so I did have to order some oil for top-ups in the truck. And then there was one day last month where I wound up having to take care of the dump and cover because the roads crew was busy that week and they weren't able to get up there and take care of it. For cemetery, the regular grounds maintenance has been ongoing. I've been able to get up there and spread the grass seed on the spots where the soil was added to level up the ground. Everything went good at the last burial. And I've marked for 3 monuments to be placed, one of which has already been installed last month. For enforcement, there were 2 911 signs installed last month, and there were no new cases opened for bylaw. That's everything I have for my report. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask them.
Any questions, Councillor Croft?
I'm just curious, do we have any, I know that we've been switching out to LED lighting. Do we still have any lighting at the municipal hall for fluorescents? And if so, how many offhand, do you know?
The community center and office has been completely switched over to LED. There's some of the small curly fluorescent bulbs in the change rooms and drink building. The roads garage still does fluorescent tubes, as well as the fire department does the fluorescent tubes.
Anything further, Councillor?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Councillor Maxwell?
Good report, thank you. I was just curious, just to clarify on the students that are working, so you have one full-time and then a part-time one that's at the landfill on Tuesdays and Saturdays, is that correct?
Yeah, there's the one student working at the community center full-time, but also working up at the landfill as well. He's been up there and will be up there a bit more in the month of July to get some training and experience up there, in the hopes that if Pauline needs a day off, the students will be able to cover instead of me coming in on a Saturday to cover now.
Good, thank you.
Anything, Councillor Olmsted, you'd like to ask?
Oh, no, I agree. Those young adults are so diligent and hardworking and very, very friendly. I think they're doing a good job. Good choices.
Thank you. Councillor Shiplin?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jacob.
You're welcome.
Next item here is a report from the chief building official. It's a written report. I assume everybody's had a chance to go through it. Do you have any questions on it, Councillor Croft?
No questions.
Councillor Maxwell?
No questions.
Okay, Councillor Olmsted
No questions.
and Councillor Shippen.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is reports from committees, and we have none this evening. Our next item on the agenda is the minutes of the council meeting on June 22nd, so we have to adopt those minutes. So there's a resolution for that. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for that resolution. Mr. Croft, can you move that one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Counselor Maxwell, can you second that one, please?
Yes, again.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Counselor Cross, seconded by Counselor Maxwell, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021 be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any discussion, Counselor Cross?
No discussion.
Counselor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Counselor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Counselor Shippen?
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call for a vote to accept these minutes as and adopt them and find them circulated. Counselor Cross, do you vote yea or nay?
Yay.
Counselor Maxwell, do you vote yea or nay?
Yay. Yes.
Okay. Counselor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
And Counselor Shippen, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is bylaw 2021 -022. It's a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council for the second quarter, April 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2021. Do we have that bylaw? Okay, so I'll need a mover and a seconder for this bylaw, please. So Councilor Olmsted, could you move this one?
Yes, I can.
And Councilor Shippen, could you second this one?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have the first reading of this bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council from April 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2021, to be received and read the first time. Any discussion on this, Councilor Cross?
No discussion.
Councilor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councilor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Councilor Shippen?
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call for a vote to accept this first reading. Councilor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councilor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
It's frozen.
I think Mr. Maxwell froze up.
Yeah,
We'll
it's
give him a
frozen.
few minutes to log back in.
Oh, there he is.
There he goes. Do you have any discussion on this first reading, Councilor Maxwell?
No.
Councilor Maxwell? Any discussion on this first reading?
No discussion. I'm losing my internet connection, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
If we lose you, we'll wait for you, okay?
Okay.
Councilor Olmsted, any discussion?
No discussion. I
first
vote yes too.
Pardon me?
I vote yes. No discussion.
Okay. And Councilor Shippen?
No discussion.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'm going to call, are we voting or just discussing?
It was
Okay,
voting.
so I'm going to call for a vote on this, please.
We're-
So Councilor Cross, you vote to accept this one, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And Councilor Shippen, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the first reading of this bylaw to confirm proceedings of council from April 1st to June 30th is carried. Thank you. So next we have second reading. So I need a mover and a seconder for this one. Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipman, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So the second reading of this bylaw to compare the proceedings of council from April 1st to June 30th is moved by Councillor Maxwell and seconded by Councillor Shipman. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Okay, and Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote to accept this second reading. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman, no. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you, I vote yes as well. So the second reading of this bylaw comparing the proceedings of council from April 1st to June 30 is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. So next item on the agenda is item C, Municipality of Calvin Roads Department, request for a temporary equipment operator position. I'm not sure if Chris is here or not, but I can respond to this one. I'll just provide an update on the situation or on the position. So there was only one applicant for this one as well. All right. He has a proper experience based on his resume. The road superintendent has spoken to other individuals who have worked with him, and they recommend his work. Chris also spoke with Wayne Brown. He used to work with him, and Wayne says he's a good worker and a good guy. There will be an orientation with the road superintendent, similar to what we did with our student, and the temporary employee on July the 19th to evaluate his skills. Then conclude with, I'd like to therefore recommend of the hiring committee for this position to hire Mr. Don Clark for the temporary equipment operator position. And on the 19th, his orientation, he'll be asked to perform some operations with some of our equipment. And if at that time that he doesn't show that he is qualified, then he wouldn't be offered a full-time position. All right. Before we can discuss it, I'm going to bring it up. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one as well. So can I get Sandy, Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and Councillor Olmsted, can you second this one, please?
Sure.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Olmsted, that council hereby acknowledges the hiring of Don Clark as a temporary equipment operator for Roads Department as advertised. I'm going to open it up for discussion. Councillor Cross, do you have anything you'd like to discuss on this?
No, I'm satisfied with what you've said, that if he passes the orientation, then he is hired. So I'm fine with that.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion. Glad we found someone.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion. Satisfied
Okay,
with your,
oh, sorry. Sorry to cut you off.
I'm satisfied with
No.
your explanation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this to a vote then, to accept the hiring of Mr. Clark as a temporary equipment operator for the Roads Department. So Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Olmsted
Yes.
and Councillor Shippen.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is good old Capel Home for the Aged. It's an update for council and moving forward with the rebuild. We've had a series of meetings with Capel Home and all their staff, plus all of the mayors and CEOs and clerk treasurers who are of the 9 municipalities. And we've gone over and over and over this stuff. So I'm going to get a mover and a seconder so that we can actually move ahead and discuss this, okay? Can I get Councillor Cross to move this one?
Yes.
Thank you. Diet Olmsted to second this one, please?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross, second by Councillor Olmsted, and it's open for discussion, really. Does anyone have any questions that we can try to answer for you? There's a lot of unanswered questions yet, I will say that. Councillor Cross.
Reading this, there's a few wordings that come out that kind of strike me a little just not comfortable. I'd like to know if we can have our lawyer look at this, because technically this is a lot of legal wording, and I really wouldn't want us to miss something. So is it possible to have our lawyer take a look at this? I'm really not willing to sign a blank check for this. I don't like the fact that there's no end number. There's a few other issues about the guarantee. Really, I'm not in agreement of it at all.
Okay. Cindy?
Just to answer the question about having our solicitor look at it, the form of agreement, or form of guarantee, excuse me, has been sent to Russell Christie, our solicitor, and the second version that was provided to council has also been provided to him. He did express an opinion on the original, said probably he wouldn't recommend signing it because it's so open-ended, as you're indicating. However, based on his past experience with IO, don't really have much choice. They did clarify a particular clause that was very concerning for pretty much all of the municipalities, and they've removed it, which is what you have in the second version. 2.5 was removed. Clause 2.5 was removed. And there were a few other little small clarifications that were made within it. Again, it was submitted to Mr. Christie at Russell Christie. He said it's much better, but again, he still has the concerns, but he's also under the impression, and that's pretty much where we're at when it comes to Infrastructure Ontario. When I say IO, that's what I mean, Infrastructure Ontario. We're between a rock and a hard place, essentially, and we don't really have a choice. If we want the financing from Infrastructure Ontario, we pretty much have to sign this form of guarantee. And so, again, he says it's better, our solicitor says it's better, but it's still open-ended, as you've indicated. It's a bit of a concern. Unfortunately, there's certain things that are beyond the control of Castleholm at the moment. They're doing their best to control the overages, but as with any massive construction project, there typically is. They've tried their best to accommodate or account for those and incorporate them into the pricing. The $122 million price that we've been quoted. But unfortunately, there probably will be overages that we don't know what they are at the moment. So it's difficult to incorporate an exact price at this point. We would all like that, especially the 4 exiting municipalities, but again, it's very difficult to pin those down at this particular point. In terms of the exiting agreement, just so that council is aware, Russell Christie can't provide us with an opinion on the exit agreement because they also represent some of the municipalities that are staying, and so therefore it's a conflict of interest. So what we have done instead is we have contacted another law firm, Wishart Law Firm in Sault Ste. Marie, who has extensive municipal law experience, and asked them instead to provide us with an opinion on the exit agreement. There are some things in the exit agreement that are very concerning as well. But we're trying to get an opinion from a lawyer, from a solicitor, legal point of view to also incorporate that when we have to go back to the drawing board, or not the drawing board, but go back to the committee with our requested revisions. So it has been sent out to the lawyers, to separate lawyers, but depending on which document you're talking about. But yes, we're in the midst of trying to get legal opinions.
Thank you.
So also the form of guarantee, in order to get a loan from Infrastructure Ontario, it has to be signed, all right? They have the lowest interest rate over the duration of the project, and what it means is that if the province of Ontario, okay, should decide not to move ahead with the project, then we would be responsible for their share, all right? Chances of that happening are very minimal because, for one thing, the current government has pledged to, I think, 1,500 beds in Ontario during this term of their mandate, and they need these homes in order to do that. If they weren't successful in the next election, and we don't know what's going to happen then it would be pretty a negative situation for a future government to withdraw that money, okay, from seniors' development homes. Also, if we guarantee that option, then we don't have to borrow that money, right? If we don't guarantee the option, then we have to borrow an additional amount of money to cover their portion, all right? So at this point in time, it seems like our best option is to sign the guarantee. But as late as yesterday, in a meeting that we had, there was a lot of opinions by different mayors and groups concerning how much the beds were costing. There was some comparison between single-tier and multi-tier municipalities, and that was kind of it shouldn't have really been brought up because we're not the same at all. But there was some references to different costs for the amount of the price per bed, okay? And that question was asked. And there was also some other questions about how come we only had one viable bidder, okay, to build the home. And there was an explanation for that, but I don't think it really held water. At the meeting yesterday, I told everyone that our municipality couldn't afford it. We can't afford to, I wrote a letter in the past, if you remember, to the mayors, and I told them that we couldn't do this. We're just a small municipality, and we didn't have that money. We didn't have that ability to do that. And I told them that again last night. And I also told them that the, is it LAR? Is that it? I don't know.
ALR.
ALR. That we would exceed that if we were to do this, and to pay all of them, and they're still asking us to pay everything up front, and that would break the rules. All right. So today, Cindy talked to someone. Okay, that's not confidential, right, Cindy?
No.
No. And asked, like, if we're guaranteeing this thing over 25 years, how come we can't pay for it over 25 years? And I thought that everyone understood that that's what we're looking for. And the person was like, well, no one ever asked that question before. All right. So he, and like we told him that we couldn't do it all in one payment. So I guess I assumed that, anyway, I made the improper assumption. So he went to IO, okay, and submitted a question to see if we could do that, right? And so we haven't heard back yet, right? I think that's all I have. Did I miss anything? There's so much information, and it's changed so many times, it's hard to be current. And is someone trying to say something? No? Okay.
No.
Did I miss anything, Cindy?
No, I don't think so. Just to add a little bit. Just to add a little bit.
I don't know what's happening there.
Councillor Max, things open.
Really having internet problems.
Yeah.
Oh, got another one.
Councillor Maxwell, can I put your original?
Yes, you can put it off. I
I'll
re-signed
turn
in.
it
I
off.
couldn't hear anything. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Change room. Somebody else.
Okay. I think we've lost the echo. Anyway, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So yes, as Mayor Pennell indicated, I contacted Castle Home today to ask the question. Essentially, the 25, it was my understanding a number of years ago before I was here, that the option was to pay upfront so as to not have to pay interest charges, or to be able to pay over 25 years. And in the past month or so, all indications were that we were going to have to pay everything all up front. And as Mayor Pennell indicated in his letter and at the numerous meetings that we've been at, that's not possible for us to pay all up front. We'd essentially have to go get a loan somewhere else. And the more I thought about it, the more we'd probably have to go to IO to get the best deal, because a bank would probably not give us the amount of money that we require. The interest rates would be more expensive, all that sort of thing. So it just didn't make sense to go to IO for the exact same thing that they've already got, that Castle Home already has in place for us. So that's why I asked the question I did today. Again, like Mayor Pennell, I kind of thought it was self-evident that that's what we were asking when he was asking his questions and saying that we couldn't pay it all up front, but I was blunt about it today so that we could get a clear answer. I have spoke to other clerks and CAOs of some of the other municipalities, and they have some significant questions as well. Pertaining to the exit agreement, there's concerns about the fact that currently there's no clause in the exiting agreement that essentially makes Castle Home go to the province to allow us to exit, because ultimately the province has to allow us to exit. So we're thinking that we'll put a clause, we'll request that a clause be put in that states that they have to submit the request for us to exit in October. And the reason we're choosing October is because there's a ministry representative from Castle Home that indicates that when Parliament goes back into session in October, that they want to bundle everything into one. So all the amendments to the Long-Term Care Act will be sort of bundled together and approved sort of all at once. And so instead of doing it piecemeal, it'll be all done. So our request or our thought would be to put a clause into the exiting agreement stating that they have to, they being Castle Home, submit the amendment or the request to amend the act in October, so that it doesn't get delayed. I mean, we can't control what the province does, but we can push as much as we can to get them to make decisions. That's about the only other thing that I think we haven't discussed so far.
Yeah, there's just no possible way you can pay it all at once. I actually said that I wouldn't bring it to council for your approval, that they would have to figure out something for us. I also asked them to dummy down some of the documents they're providing to us. There's too many, as per, section 3, subparagraph 2, which refers to whatever and something else and something else. So I'd like, dummy it down, all right? So that the normal person can understand it. I didn't say a normal person, I just said that I'm not as legally adept as a lot of you people here, and I need you to dummy it down so I can understand it. Whether that'll happen, I don't know. So anyway, this resolution in front of us is basically to agree to sign the guarantee with Infrastructure Ontario in substantially in the form of the draft attachment A, which is attached here. And we understand that the guarantee will remain in a draft format until such time as the loan is approved by Infrastructure Ontario, and that all other documentation has been finalized. Mr. Calvin here ratifies and approves this. So Matawan Town has agreed to the guarantee, okay? The town of Mattawa did not agree with the exit agreement, but I didn't understand from Dean if they had agreed to the guarantee. Papineau Cameron, I believe they were going to do the guarantee, but I'm not sure there either. Do you have an update on those ones, Cindy?
It's my understanding that Mattawa, did not approve this resolution, for the form of guarantee either, because they have concerns with the exiting agreement. And Papineau Cameron, based on the conversation that I had with Papineau Cameron this afternoon, they were concerned, as we are, about the exit agreement clause, but essentially, in order to move forward with the exit agreement, we have to sign this form of guarantee so that we can get the conditions going for the loan, and then finish up the exit agreement. So when it says, and that all other documentation has been finalized, one of the documents that need to be finalized before the IO agreement can be finalized is the exiting agreement. So this is sort of the first stage of it. Whether or not Papineau is going to approve this resolution, it was unclear because of the concerns that they had.
Okay. So, I don't know if you guys have anything you want to ask. We might be able to answer it, we might not. Might not know what the answer to your question. Councillor Cross, do you have anything you want to ask?
I don't have anything to ask. I just feel uncomfortable us signing something when we don't have all the answers to our questions and we have to wait. And to sign something before we know those answers, I don't like the idea of having a false sense that the other things are going to follow through until they're actually written down.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell?
Nothing, no questions. No, just let's see what
Any
happens.
concerns?
Yeah, it is concerned. I'm not too worried about the province not paying their share of it, but I guess we do have to still finance that, which is a problem. I mean, I can't imagine any provincial government backing out of their agreement to buy a nursing home. That wouldn't go over very well publicly.
Yeah. Councillor Olmsted.
So who wrote this? It seems very, there's a lot of firm language in there. It seems like a really angry person wrote this and said, you better pony up all this money. That's my impression. It just, yeah, too much legalese. I didn't understand what I was reading. We're not lawyers. Yeah, I'm not comfortable, like Sandy said. I mean, we only have 550 people live here. How could we be responsible for millions of dollars?
Well, it's not really the people, it's the households, right, that are going to pay for it. So you can cut that in half, really, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then who wrote this? Part of it was provided to us, and then it was rewritten by Jason McMartin after a meeting we had on July the 1st, I think it was. And then it's been kicked around since then. I think this resolution is one of those written by, we had asked somebody to write it for us and provide it to us, so we would have the right wording in a resolution to get back to them. Am I right with that, Cindy?
Right. The lawyer for Castleholm wrote the resolution. What Mr. McMartin, who is the CAO from Papineau Cameron, he revised the exit agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Councillor Shipman, any concerns, any thoughts?
Well, I'm same as Councillor Cross. I feel very uncomfortable signing something that doesn't have, or agreeing to something that we don't know what exactly it's going to cost us, or when we can get out of it, or anything really. It just seems to be like a bunch of legal speak that basically says you got to sign it, you got to pay for it, and even when you want to exit, you still have to pay for it. So I'm not really following how this is, like us signing this doesn't does it make us liable for anything right now? No, right? It's just saying that we're gonna go through, or we're looking to go through with getting the loan from the IO.
Yeah.
But we're not, right now, we're not liable for any monies until they're
No.
done.
No. There's still
Well, yes
one.
and no.
Yeah.
Mayor Pennell, can I just clarify?
Yes.
We are liable for the rebuild
There we
regardless.
are.
Yeah, so
We
that's,
have to pay for it, whether we exit, whether we stay, regardless. We are responsible for paying for this rebuild. And the rebuild is actually legislated by the province. The rebuild needs to be done by 2025 as per the regulations right now. That may be extended. I don't know the answer to that question, but regardless, we are liable to pay for this rebuild, period.
Yeah, we don't have a choice.
so
And if we
right
sign
now,
the guarantee,
sorry.
if we sign the guarantee, then we don't have to bore the provincial portion, okay? If we don't sign the agreement as at this IO right now, as the way it stands, then we have to also borrow enough money to pay our share of the provincial portion, which is $68 million, right?
Sorry.
But that wouldn't be, that's not what we would have to pay. The provincial portion is 68 million. We would have to borrow additional funds on top of our 114 to pay their portion, right? And I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just trying to explain what it is I know, right? And what it is I don't know.
So right now, we're basically fighting to be able to pay it over a longer term. That's pretty much all we got.
Well, we've asked for that, yeah. So the Castle Home Board, okay, is looking for an answer by the end of the week, all right? North Bay, they want us to respond tomorrow to tell them what our decision is, all right? Mattawa respond today. Matawan has already responded. Papineau Cameron will respond. And depending on what we all say, okay, determines what Castle Home is going to do. There's been a lot of, I have to word this properly, there's been a lot of what I feel are threats, okay? And there was an article in the paper today, I don't know if you read it or not, about people from Castle Home calling councillors in East Ferris and threatening them during the past week if they didn't sign this, okay? And that's not just my words, it's in the paper. And Councillor Rushford spoke that last night, all right, at the meeting. So it's up to us as a group to look at this, discuss it, which we're doing now, and then take a vote on it, and then whatever happens, happens. The Castle might just levy us all for it, right? But I think a big portion is North Bay has a special meeting called on Thursday, okay? And they're the big player in this, right? Like they have the majority share of what the rebuild is going to cost, and East Ferris comes in second, I believe. So they're the big guys, okay? Like we got a lot of cash invested in this too. We're going to have to invest, but they're even worse off than us. So it's kind of going to be what happens there, how it moves forward. But they want us to let them know what our thoughts are on this. So we're going to do that. Any other questions? Heather?
Hi. Well, my knee jerk is to say no, but I don't think that we have a choice. I feel like we don't have a choice.
We do. We take a chance, okay? What's being told to us is if, and I don't want to hide this from you, Capstone Board is telling us, like, if you don't do this, okay, Infrastructure Ontario hasn't said that they're going to keep this money on the table for you, okay? And the province of Ontario hasn't, even at one point last night, I can't remember which person it was, said that if you don't move ahead with this, okay, then the government of Ontario needs to have these beds developed in Ontario, right? And if you're not going to do it, they're going to take the money they promised you and they're going to give it to somebody else, all right? Then we would have to, and I'm not trying to scare anybody here, I'm just telling you what we were told last night, is that then we would have to also provide the $68 million that the government was going to provide before and pulled away. So that would even increase our costs more, all right? So instead of, yeah, it would just be a whole lot of money, right? So but there's a whole bunch of, it's kind of like threats. You don't know who's telling the truth half the time, you know, or if they're exaggerating or if they're being truthful with you. Well, I've seen people offer ideas and suggestions, and then when that happens, then you have 2 or 3 other people, and mostly representatives of Castle Home, maybe attack's not the right word, but pick their ideas apart, all right? And not really allow them to be considered. But that's just my opinion, okay? But that's sure how it seems to me. So anybody got any questions, please ask. I'll try to answer them. I'm sure Cindy will as well. But in the end, we have to vote on this, okay? And I'm not telling you which way to vote. I see your hand up, Councillor Cross.
Well, I may be a little naive about this, but if we can't get a loan from a bank and IOS is not an option, you can't get blood from stone. If we don't have the money, we don't have the money.
I don't think they care. The only people, everybody I talk to, it doesn't have any concern about the municipality, okay?
Okay.
They don't care about the municipality. They care about Castle Home, all right? Mayor Rossford said last night, you guys have been talking about this for 20 years, okay? We've had other things on the books for 20 years that we wanted to do and we haven't been able to do them, and now you're forcing us to do this, all right? So,
my question is,
Infrastructure
though,
Ontario, we can still hit them up for a loan. Right?
Yeah, my question is, though, if we don't have the money, how do you pay? How do they come and try to get the money from you? Cindy's got her hand up, so I'm going to get the answer.
They are telling us that if we don't pay, there's a number of options. They could levy us, which means we would have to go to the taxpayers for whatever it is that they levy us for, which is not a great option. If we still don't pay, because as you say, can't get blood from a stone, they could take us to court. And so there could be a legal battle as well, which will cost however much money that would cost. I can't even estimate how much that would cost.
And we would lose, right?
So it's written in the legislation right now, as I indicated. We are responsible for this rebuild regardless. So we have to figure out, and that's why I'm asking my blunt question, because I'm trying to get it so that we're trying to get an option that's at least, I don't even want to say doable, because it's still going to cost us quite a bit of money per year over 25 years, but at least it's better than trying to come up with $1 million in 1 year. or $200,000 in 5 years, per year kind of thing. If we can spread it over 25 years, then it's only going to cost us $60,000 a year.
Only, right?
Which is still a lot of money,
Yeah,
but it's better than trying to get those other things, those other amounts of money in short time frames.
right.
Just to be clear then, so it's 60,000 a year plus the levy? So it's,
Yeah.
So it's 100,000 almost we'll have to pay to
Probably
Castle
a
Home?
little bit over, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
A lot of cash. And then we got Mattawa sitting there too, right?
Yeah, well, we can't do Mattawa if, I can't see us doing Mattawa if we have to do this, if we're locked into this.
We don't know what the government will do to us, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Pennell, and just something else that came to mind, if you don't mind if I speak.
Okay.
Just again, so council's got all the details. There's also a clause that we've been told that we will have, until the rebuild is complete and the license has been issued for the new building, the new Castle Home, we will have to pay the operating levy as well. So when Councillor Maxwell was asking, $60,000, I'm rounding up. The number that they're giving us right now is $58,000 a year over 25 years. But we would also have to pay for the next approximately 5 years, assuming that it takes 5 years to do this rebuild, we would also have to pay the operating levy. So definitely we're going to have to pay about $100,000, probably more like $110,000, $120,000 to Castle Home, because we'll have to pay the cost plus the operating costs for the next 5 years.
Right.
But that is, at least that's what they're telling us, or what they're telling us is that is a requirement of the regulation. Like, it's part of the Long-Term Care Act, that as long as our name is on the schedule, I'm not trying to be all legal here or anything, but as long as our name is associated with Castle Home in the Long-Term Care Act, which is what we're trying to get them to remove, we have to pay the operating levy. So that's why we're also pushing in the exiting clause to get them to do that, so we can get out and not have to pay the operating levy as well.
Any other questions that we can't answer for you?
It's horrible.
What's the good news in this? What is the good news in this story? You get a new nursing home, more beds, or what? Are residents will be able to use them? I mean, there must be some silver lining on this.
There'll be a nice new building on Olive Street in North Bay. It'll be top class, like first class. There's a lot of single rooms. It's a good news for the residents who are going to live there, for sure. It's just a lot of money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Castle Home estimates that they spend between $300,000 and $400,000 on repairs because the building is so old. When the building is new, the $300,000 will disappear for the maintenance costs, and so they're estimating, it's an estimate, but they're estimating the levy will also be reduced. But if we exit, we're not going to actually see that. So, but it is a positive in the grand scheme of things. That is a positive.
It was even stated in one meeting that our roof is in really bad shape. So if, I don't know what ministry it is, determines that the roof needs to be fixed, that's going to cost us $500,000, okay? And you guys got to pay for that. and then we're gonna tear it down, right? Because we are definitely gonna build a new building. Like, there's all kinds of comments like that throughout the meetings from different people, and it's just like, no one's trying to be, no one's being nice at all, right? So, and we're getting different opinions from different auditors, and yeah, it's hard to get a handle on everything. You kind of have to look at people, and if you're in a lot of meetings, then you know how people react to in a meeting, and you can tell who's on Castle Home's side for sure. And I don't want to call anybody, I'll say some of them act like salesmen, okay? Maybe car salesmen, where they want you to buy this car, and they're going to say whatever they have to say to get you to buy it, right? But, okay, so I don't have anything else to say. If anybody's got another question, we'll try to answer it. But if not, then we'll move on with this, and we'll take a vote, and whatever everybody decides, that's what we'll do. Okay?
Mayor
Yes,
Pennell,
Cindy.
can
Yes.
I just want to make sure that the email that I sent out in regards to our auditors, you mentioned our auditors, Mayor Pennell, so I just want to make sure, did anyone have any questions in regards to the email I sent out? In terms of our annual repayment limit, our ARL, how it's going to affect our financial statements? Do you want me to just review that quickly so that people, so
Yes,
the council?
please do, Cindy.
Okay. So in terms of our ARL, which is the annual repayment limit, the ARL fluctuates, so I want to stipulate that the ARL fluctuates from year to year. It's based on our financial statements, essentially, our FIR, how much we have in reserves, a number of factors go into it. So it fluctuates from year to year. This year, in 2021, it was approximately $340,000. Essentially what that means is we can borrow up to $340,000 without having to go to the province to ask permission if we can borrow more. So how this affects our financial statements is whatever we have to pay per year in principal and interest. So let's use the dollar value of $58,000 if we pay it over 25 years. It would, so there, $58,000 would need to be subtracted from the $340,000. We also pay on a fire truck, a loan that we actually have with IO as well, Infrastructure Ontario as well. We pay approximately $25,000 on that. We are paying on a grader. That all of these things get subtracted because it's money that we owe, but it's only the principal and interest that affects the ARL per year. But remember, the ARL fluctuates from year to year. So the concern is, if for whatever reason something happened within the municipality and we needed to borrow money, I don't really want to say anything catastrophic because I don't want anything catastrophic to happen within the municipality, but you never know. We have weird weather now, we have a whole bunch of different things, so if for whatever reason we needed to borrow a bunch of money and we are using all of our annual limit to pay off Castle Home, then we are going to have to go to the province to ask them for permission to be able to borrow more, which is a process. So that's how it affects. Now, just to clarify, any levies that we have, so the operating levy that we pay for Castle Home, DSAB levies, all those aren't included in this. Those are something that's completely separate. It's just things that we're trying to pay off, money that we've borrowed in order to pay off something. So, again, that's another reason why we want the $58,000 over 25 years versus trying to pay this off in one shot, or because we won't pass if they go to a bank or IO or whatever, and we're asking for $1 million, well, that's, you know, $700,000 over our annual repayment limit, and so we'd have to get permission to do that. Now, there was a comment last night that long-term care facilities are an exception to that rule, but I would like to look into that further to make sure that that's actually an exception, because I've never heard of that before. It was just a comment that was made at the meeting last night. So that's the ARL and how it would affect our ARL. In terms of our financial statements, the reason we would like to, or it's encouraged that we sign the form of guarantee, is that it would only be a statement on our financial statements. It would only be a note on our financial statements saying that we've guaranteed the provincial portion over 25 years. So this note would stay on our financial statements over 25 years. But as long as the province continued to pay what they were supposed to pay, it would never affect our books. The only time it would affect our books is if they reneged on their funding. Then obviously we'd have to put the money up for the money that they reneged on, and again, it would affect our books. It would affect our annual repayment limit, all that sort of thing, because we would have to borrow the money. So I just, if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them, but in the simplest terms as I can explain it, that's what our auditor has told me.
Okay.
Take the 60 grand. Okay. All right.
Why is the province asking us to guarantee their, seems like a basic question, but their portion, why would that, is that typical contract things? It doesn't make sense to me. Why would you ask that? Why would they ask us to guarantee their, like, the only reason you'd ask that is if you plan on not paying it. It just doesn't make sense on why they would ask us to guarantee their portion.
We've asked them time and time again to withdraw that requirement, and they won't do it. They're not going to take Infrastructure Ontario won't take any risk at all. Zero risk, no matter how minimum it is. They will not take a risk. Okay, even though it's highly improbable that the government would withdraw that funding, they won't take that risk.
Crazy.
Sometimes it seems like people are power tripping. Right? Any more questions? Anybody got a question? No? Okay. So let's do a vote, and we'll see how it turns out, and then we'll notify Council tomorrow. All right? So, Councillor Cross, do you vote to proceed with the signing of the guarantee? Yes or no?
Yes. I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote to proceed? Yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote to proceed? Yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I do as well. To proceed with the guarantee. All right. So, thank you. Gary Thatcher. So this resolution is carried. Next item we have on the agenda is E. It's Jerry and Janet Knox It's regarding Airbnb rental of properties on Town Lake, and they're requesting a policy. In regard to that, there, excuse me, was an attachment that we should have read in regard to that. Well, I think the question is a zoning bylaw. Is that correct, Cindy?
Yes, we would have to amend our zoning bylaw. Our zoning bylaw currently alludes to Airbnbs, but our current zoning bylaw was written in 2001, and Airbnbs weren't really all that prevalent at that point. In the newer version that we're currently working on, they're kind of grouped together with other types of rental properties like Airbnbs are, but they're not separated out. And based on what I'm reading from the Knox's letter, they'd like something specific written on Airbnbs.
Okay, thank you. So all this resolution is doing is authorizing the clerk treasurer to proceed with research into amendments need to be made to a zoning bylaw. So I need a mover and a seconder to proceed with this one. Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one, please?
Yes, can.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipham, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So this one's open for discussion. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say or bring up regarding this motion for the clerk treasurer to do research? Councillor Cross?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, Councillor Maxwell?
Yes, it's a good idea. We already have a few Airbnbs operating in our township, and we probably should have a policy.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to bring this to a vote to authorize the clerk treasurer to proceed with the research. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. And Councillor Shipham, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So thank you. This resolution is carried. Okay, so next item on the agenda is a resolution, it's item F, request for a proposal for the Public Works Building Replacement Roof and Siding. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this resolution as well. So Councillor Shipham, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Maxwell, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Shipham and seconded by Councillor Maxwell. The council hereby authorizes the clerk treasurer to proceed with the request for proposal for the Public Works Building replacement of the roof and siding as per the 2021 budget. Any discussion? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on this one to authorize the clerk to move forward with the RFP. Councillor Cross, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you very much. Excuse me. Next item on the agenda is item G. It's a request for proposal for guardrails for the Cross, Wally, and Carruthers bridges. Well, I know we discussed this a while ago in budget talks. So I'll need a mover and a seconder on this. Councillor Olmsted, could you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Olmsted, seconded by Councillor Cross, that council hereby authorize the clerk treasurer to proceed with the request for proposal for the guardrails for the Cross, Wally, and Carruthers bridges as per 2021 budget. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Councillor Shiffman?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call it to a vote to authorize the clerk treasurer to proceed with the RFP for the guardrails for the three bridges. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no? Okay, Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and Councillor Shippen, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so this resolution is also carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is a resolution, new OP detachment board makeup amendments to the resolution 2021-141. So we have a resolution here. I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Olmsted, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So this resolution before us is that council hereby amends resolution 2021-141, our response to the office of the Solicitor General with the Corporation of Municipality of Calvin's recommended decision of the following OPP detachment board composition as being the most viable for our area. So Group A is Mattawa, Matawan, Papineau, Cameron, and Calvin. That's where we are now, basically. Group B is Blondfield, East Paris, and Chisholm. And Group C is Blossom and Nipson. Any discussion on this, Councillor Cross?
No discussion. Oh,
Councillor Max?
Cindy.
Sorry,
said
Panel,
once.
can I just provide an
Oh, yes.
explanation, council
Please
first?
proceed, please.
Just so that council is aware of why I brought this back, we have submitted our the paperwork that was required to the Solicitor General. The CAO from the Township of Chisholm was gracious enough to do that for the entire area. Originally, the original resolution read two groups, Group A and Group B. Essentially Bondfield was grouped with us, and everyone else was in the other group. Unfortunately, the other member municipalities couldn't decide on how they wanted the makeup. So essentially, this is how it was submitted. So in order to make sure that everything's consistent, that's why we've brought this amendment back to the original resolution so that it reflects what was submitted to the Solicitor General. So just so council is aware of why this has come back, it's because the other municipalities couldn't agree.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No, it makes sense. Thank you.
Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call this resolution to a vote. You vote to accept this resolution, Councillor Cross? Yes or
Yes,
no?
I do. Yes.
Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
And Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So this resolution is also carried. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item I. It's a support letter for gun control. So we have a resolution for this as well. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one. Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Shipham, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we have this resolution moved by Councillor Maxwell and seconded by Councillor Shipham that this resolution be forwarded to public officials, MP Anthony Rota, MPP Vic Fideli, Premier of Ontario, and the Honourable Doug Ford, Leader of the Official Opposition, Andrea Horthwaite, Prime Minister of Canada, Opposition Andrea Horthwaite, the Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, and the Leader of the Official Opposition, the Honourable Erin O'Toole. Any discussion on this? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
And Councillor Olmsted.
I think it's important. We can't be gun controls and different postal codes, so I support it. No discussion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shipham.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this to a vote. So I guess the question is, do you agree to support this resolution and send it to the officials listed? Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So this resolution is also carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is J. It's a support letter for tax breaks for individuals on 2020 CERB payments. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one as well. Councillor Shipham, can you move this one, please?
I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not going to read it all, that's for sure. Everyone's had a chance to read it. I'll read the therefore. Since the federal government did not inform the recipients of the CERB grant that it is taxable, and further, when the CERB grant and EI were merged, the federal government did not, as they stated, withhold tax from CERB as they did on EI, and are now insisting CERB payments CERB recipients repay as much as $3,000 to $4,000 in tax, which they can ill afford to pay. Therefore, we urge the federal government to address these serious issue and consider giving disadvantaged CERB recipients a tax break for 2020 or giving them a tax credit for 2021. And further, that this resolution be forwarded to the Prime Minister of Canada and the Federal Minister of Finance, Nipissing District MP Anthony Rota, and Ontario municipalities. Any discussion? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
And Councillor Shipham.
No discussion.
Okay, I'm going to call this for a vote then to proceed with this resolution. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted
Yes.
and Councillor Shipham.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you, everyone. This resolution is carried. next item we have up in front of us is item K. It's a consent application, 2021-22, Boyd applicant and Buffett. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly or not. But I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one, please. So, Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Olmsted, could you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Maxwell and seconded by Councillor Olmsted. And it's a consent application 2021-22 in the name of Boyd application buffet agent has been filed with the East Nipissing Planning Board on land known as concession 4, part lot 17, municipality of Calvin, to create a lot addition of 11.3 acres. The existing lot being part 1, plan 36R13292, location near 1348 Peddlers Drive, Mattawa, Ontario, on which a year-round maintained municipal road. Now, therefore, the Council of Municipal Calvin resolves that it is recommended that the East Nipissing Planning Board give provisional consent to the application, and the Public Works Superintendent must be contacted for entrance permit and for locate of entrance on a proposed lot addition, if required, and a copy of the completed survey for the lot addition shall be provided to the municipality in both digital format and hard copy. Any discussion on this? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Okay, Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted
No discussion.
and Councillor Shiplin.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call this for a vote then to approve this application. I just want to say one thing before we do that. There's a part in here about the road superintendent must be contacted for entrance permit. These are the lots right across from the municipal hall. Is that correct? Going up the hill? Okay, so I remember when that was severed off to do that, and I believe there was a condition that there had to only be one driveway at the bottom, and then whoever developed that would have to make like Booth Road kind of thing up the side of the hill. So because there wasn't adequate clearance for another driveway to be built, so I'm just seem to remember that. So I just want to bring it up now, right? So okay, so I think everybody's had a chance to discuss. So I need to take a vote on whether we approve this. So Councillor Cross, do you vote to approve this application? Yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and Councillor Maxwell, do you vote to approve this application?
Yes, I do.
And Councillor Olmsted, do you vote to approve this application?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shiplin, do you vote yes or no to approve this?
Yes.
And I do as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is L, East Nipissing Planning Board. It's a consent application 2021-20 Maxwell. So I'll read it again the same as I did the other one. Whereas an application of consent number 2021-20 in the name of Daniel and Jody Maxwell has been filed with the East Nipissing Planning Board on land known as Concession 7, Part Lot 17, Municipality of Calvin, to create two new residential lots of approximately 2.4 acres and 4.78 acres. Municipal address being 60 Twilight Camp Road, which is year-round road maintained by the Municipality of Calvin. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Calvin resolves that it is recommended that the East Nipissing Planning Board give provisional consent to the application, and the Public Works Superintendent must be contacted for the entrance permit and for locate of entrance on the proposed new lots, and a copy of the completed survey for the new residential lot shall be provided to the municipality in both digital format and hard copy, and that a 5% cash on lieu shall apply to the newly created lots and is payable in full to the municipality as a requirement of consent. Cindy, do you have something you want to say here, please?
I just wanted, Councillor Maxwell, you declared a conflict, correct?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
So
So I'll
if you-
move to the audience. Can I move to the audience? And if you have any questions, I can answer them to the audience.
Typically, if you just shut off your audio and your video,
Okay.
that's how we deal with that.
Okay.
But just for clarification, it's come to my attention that some of the information in this motion is incorrect. The 60 as I've indicated here, the 60 Twilight Camp Road is not the actual address of the lot being severed. The address is 411 Highway 630.
So
And which makes
Dan's still there, okay.
Oh.
Sorry, okay. Go ahead
Which
now, please.
makes it a provincial road instead of a municipal road. Highway 630 is provincially owned, so it's not a municipal road. Which also means that item number 2, the Public Works Superintendent must be contacted for an entrance permit. That's no longer applicable. It no longer applies because it's a provincial road, and therefore the MTO has to be contacted for the permit, an entrance permit, not the municipality. So I just wanted to clarify that with council, that these amendments need to be made to this motion if it's go through.
Okay. So I'm gonna need a mover and a seconder for this before we discuss it further. So Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Olmsted, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna call for discussion on the changes here. Any discussion from you, Councillor Cross?
No, just glad that we saw or Cindy found the different information ahead of time, but no comments.
Okay, so Councillor Olmsted.
I don't have any
discussion?
concerns, thanks. Nope.
And Councillor Shiplin?
I'm just wondering if we could defer this to our next meeting, just so that all the paperwork is completed properly, because even the public notice of application for consent from the East Nipissing Planning Board has the 60 Twilight Camp Road as listed for the property. So I'm just wondering if we defer it to our next meeting and basically just like do it again. And once all the paperwork has been changed to reflect the correct property numbers and all of that, then it shouldn't be a big deal.
Okay. We've
I
all
don't have a
heard
problem.
Councillor Shipman and Councillor Cross. Your thoughts on Councillor Shipman's request?
I'm not, I've never thought of it, so that's an interesting comment. I'm not sure. Cindy, do you have any enlightenment on that issue?
It can absolutely be deferred until the next meeting, and I can request the paperwork from the East Nipissing Planning Board be corrected so that it has the proper information in it. The meeting for the next East Nipissing Planning Board meeting, according to the notice, is the day after our regular meeting, where this could come back to. So it would still meet discussion times and things like that. So yes, it absolutely can be deferred if that's what council would like.
Okay, so Councillor Cross?
Well, I think the proper information should be on all of the paperwork, so it might be a good idea to defer it.
Okay, Councillor Olmsted, your thoughts?
I just know that we have a very short building season and putting things off. All the correct information is on there now. It's been corrected. I don't have a problem with the way it's going.
Okay. So Councillor Shipman, you've already stated you would like to have all the information corrected and then brought back at the next meeting, correct?
Yes, I just think that you know, it should be because Mr. Maxwell is a counselor, all the T's should be crossed and the I's dotted, and the paperwork should be correct and reflect that before we move things along. And all he's doing, from what I understand, all we're doing is severing the lots. We're not building anything right yet, so it shouldn't affect the building season.
Okay, so I'm going to call us for a vote. So do we bring back Councillor Maxwell first, or do we vote on it and then bring him back?
Vote on it first and then ask him to come back.
Okay, so I'm going to call us for a vote whether we, okay, so I'm going to ask you to vote on yes or no, whether we delay this for till our next meeting, okay? So Councillor Cross, how do you vote, yes or no?
Yes.
To delay it to the next meeting?
Yes.
You vote yes? Okay. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
It doesn't matter to me either way. It's okay. Yes.
Yes? Okay. And Councillor
Yes.
Shipman, vote
Yes.
yes or no? Okay.
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried to defer the vote till our next meeting when the paperwork can be updated with the proper information, right? All right. Okay. So can we bring back Councillor Maxwell now? There we go. Hi. Okay.
Nice break.
Okay, so just so you know what happened, Councillor Maxwell,
I did hear.
it was voted to defer a decision on this until the proper paperwork is provided to us at our next meeting. Okay?
Understand. No problem.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is M. It was a message that was sent to us by Mr. Dean Grant. I think it was entitled "Message from a Concerned Citizen." So we have a resolution on this as well. So I'll need a mover and a seconder to move ahead with this discussion. So Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And Councillor Shipman, sorry about that. Can you second it, please?
I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Maxwell, seconded by Councillor Shipman. Okay, so we received a email, okay, from Mr. Grant that had a lot of information in it that we all had an opportunity to read. There was no request in the email for a response. It was his opinion in on a few different subjects. I don't think it's necessary for us to respond, but I'm going to leave that discussion up to the group. So, Councillor Cross, how do you have anything you'd like to discuss on this?
Well, I wasn't 100% sure why it was in our package because there was no questions asked. There was just his opinion. And if he wanted to forward this to E4M, I would figure that he would do this on his own, and it's not requested from council to send it forward. There are some comments in here that I don't feel are accurate, or information that is maybe shouldn't have been stated. Nobody really should be talking about other people's mental health or anything like that. So I really I don't think anything needs to be done with this. I mean, I read it, I responded to him to let him know that I did read it and receive it. He responded back, and I really didn't have anything more to respond back to him for it. So I really don't see we need to be doing anything with this.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell.
I think that he's brought up, yeah. I think he has a valid concern, and I think that it's citizens' right to be able to contact the council and have with any concerns that they may have. He's brought up the E4M costs, and it is a real situation. It's a serious situation for our taxpayers. They're the ones who end up paying this money. And I think we do have to address that issue that he's brought up here. I think looks like he's being investigated again, and they are asking him to participate. He's saying he's not going to participate because he doesn't want. I don't know why they'd be investigating someone that's not a councillor anymore, but it looks like he is being investigated still. And I think that we have to try to bring.
Do you know that for a fact, or is that just?
That's what it says in the letter. He says, I want to share with my friend with his response to down here. It says, I'm not going to participate in any of your.
Yeah, but I didn't read him say he had been requested to. That's just clarification.
And tell me out of these investigations, I'm not even a councillor. I have not started any of them, and I don't want and don't because this letter is apparently going to E4M. It's not meant for us. I think we've been carbon copied it. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that some of the points that we could go back on, some that we're working on these areas of, because it is something that we're going to have to work on whether we want to or not. We can't continue the way we are with the integrity commissioner. I think we have to come up with some policies that will help mitigate the cost of the investigations that are going on.
But that's not the question in front of us. The question in front of us is that council hereby requests the mayor to prepare a response. Okay, that's the question.
Yes. To response, yes, to the following points. Councillor hereby requests the mayor to these following points. So these are the following points I'd like to make. That as a councillor, we are as concerned to this issue as he is, as all our taxpayers are, and that we're working on it, and that some of the ideas that I have for this, which we've talked about already, and we are doing training for councillors, especially right in the first term, to understand how to avoid these things. And Heather had mentioned in the past a fee that we could bring in to make sure that people are serious. You know, even like a $50 fee, just when you want to put an integrity commissioner complaint in, you put this fee up front, and that kind of gets rid of the ones that are frivolous or that shouldn't be at that state right now. We have to make sure that the smaller complaints get dealt with in-house. So we have to make sure that our complaint policy is strong, and that people use our complaint policy first, and perhaps they have to use a complaint policy first before they go to E4M, so that we have time to discuss it in-house or deal with it in-house. And then if they're not happy with the results, the next step is that they go for E4M. But they should have to use our complaint process first and try to deal with it through our complaint policy that we established. I think that would be some good steps in trying to get this under control, because right now it's as bad as Castleholm, and we have to take this serious. And so that's the 3 points that I would like to put on there, that I would like council to work towards doing that. And and hopefully we can get the EFRAM, I'm going to use the word integrity commissioner expense under control.
Councillor Olmsted.
I saw other investigations cost between, like full-on investigations for other providers between 2,000 and 3,000. But when we looked at this Ombudsman Ontario, he's free. So there are options.
Ombudsman's not available to us anymore. The Ombudsman is not available to us anymore. When we came in at our election, the Ombudsman was kind of put to bed, and the integrity commissioners were brought on board by the government.
But I read that if we didn't have an alternative investigation, we could use the Ombudsman. Yeah. So there are options. I do think, you know, having a fee for, you know, false allegations or vexation. I have to tell you, there's been a complaint about me about taking my trap back. They didn't return a trap, and it was so I asked for it back. There was no answer, and so I just went and got it. And so I mean, I didn't do anything wrong. God, if I took my tractor back, you know how many times I'd be in jail? This hand season's busy. We all use my tractor. So if you're at work, I'm going to go and get it. Well, I'm, you know, so there's some validity to having a fee involved.
Okay. That didn't really answer this question, though. All right.
So that we're working towards it. I agree with Dan. This is very expensive.
Okay.
And, you know, we're supposed to be allies, you know, and we can work together to get this. I just don't think this is what we're doing.
Right. Anything further, Heather?
No, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Shipman, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, I agree with Sandy or Councillor Cross. There's no questions asked in this, so I don't really see the need for a response. He's stating his opinion again. At the end of the day, that's what it is. The investigations were started because councillors didn't follow the rules, and they were investigated for it. It seems pretty clear to me that if you follow the rules, you're not going to get investigated, and we wouldn't have a bill. So I don't believe there should be a response to this.
Okay.
Can I answer that?
Cindy,
Christine?
Your hand up at one time. Do you have anything you want to offer?
No, I just wasn't clear on what Councillor Maxwell's 3 points were. But if we're going to proceed with this, I'll just write them in. I'll ask at that time. It's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then I've seen Councillor Cross's hand up one more time.
Yes, I did want to. I'm under the impression that we have a policy for complaints, which is more for staff, for things that are going wrong in the municipality. This is different. The integrity commissioner, I believe, is supposed to be for issues that are with councillors or mayors, or that it's not. There's a different policy here. There's a, I think there's a misunderstanding of what we have in place. We are mandated by law to have, whether it's a lawyer or IC, these people to investigate. We cannot have counselors investigating counselors, or that could be considered a major issue in itself. If we are following the rules and doing what we're supposed to be doing, there wouldn't be any issues going on.
Okay, can I answer to that?
Councillor, okay, that's the second comment from Councillor Cross. Councillor Olmsted.
Okay, so just know that I did not question the authority of the intake of the CP. I asked a question, and it's not illegal to ask a question. And the one thing I did do wrong is I thought I was venting to my coworkers. I didn't use my position to advance anything. I asked a question, and that's not against the law.
Okay.
I didn't use my position. So there was quotes on there that was wrong. There was wrong facts on there.
Okay.
It was wrong. So I didn't get a chance to defend myself first. I have proof that there's wrong things in this report. I thought I'd rise above that. So no, I didn't do anything wrong. And the fact that my name was on disbursements, totally not fair, didn't cause it, didn't do anything wrong. It was very, yeah, it was made by people that didn't even live in our township, the complaints.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thank you. That has nothing to do with this resolution, but it's good for you to share that.
Thank you.
Okay. So everyone's had a chance to voice their opinion. So I'm going to call for a vote on whether I'm to prepare a response to Mr. Dean Grant. And then if we determine that I need to do that, then Cindy can get Councillor Maxwell's points and Councillor Olmsted's points as well. So Councillor Cross, you vote to for me to prepare a response, yes or no?
No.
Okay, Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
You know, this is the type of thing that escalates the situations in our township, and voting this down is like deliberately escalating the situation. I'm very disappointed in some of our councillors. I vote yes.
I didn't hear your comments, but
I vote yes.
You voted, okay. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote for myself to prepare a response to Mr. Grant?
Yes, please.
Yes. Councillor Shipham, do you vote for me to prepare a response for Councillor Grant?
No.
Okay. I believe that there was no request for a response, so I'm going to say no as well. So this resolution is defeated. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a notice of a closed portion of the June 27th, 2021 regular council meeting. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder to move ahead with this. Councillor Shipham, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Maxwell, can you second this one, please?
Yes, Jan.
Okay, thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Shipham, second by Councillor Maxwell, that as per Municipal Act 239 2B and D, a closed portion of the council shall be held during a regular council meeting of Tuesday, July 27th, for the purpose of personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal and local board employees and labor relations and employee negotiations, contract review, zoning violations, and succession planning. Any discussion on this? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm gonna call for a vote to approve the closed portion in the meeting on the 27th. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so this resolution is also carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is trial balance, June 30th. So in here we have a trial balance that was prepared for us by our clerk treasurer. Everyone had a chance to review it. Are there any questions or that you might have for Cindy? Councillor Cross?
No questions.
Councillor Maxwell?
No questions.
Councillor Olmsted?
I just had some concerns about the tax arrears. Is that a usual balance that we have?
What
Is that
page are you
typical?
looking at? I don't have
Oh,
it.
page 1. Oh, page 1,
Page one?
103. Yep.
I would say it's a little on the high side because
Yeah.
of COVID-19. It's
Mhm.
it's usually approximately $14,000-15,000.
Yeah, I have concerns whether COVID had something to do with that. But other than that, I have no concerns with the document.
Okay. Anything further, Councillor Olmsted?
No, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is report from the clerk treasurer, 2021 CT 32 procedural bylaw review. So we were given the current bylaw, okay, and then another copy of the bylaw with proposed amendments to it. And we've been asked to review them, okay, and make suggestions and suggest possible changes. And to do that and email the clerk treasurer prior to August the 31st. Does anyone have any questions or concerns that they would like to put forth to Cindy? Councillor Cross?
Not as of right now.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that any time up until that date, right? So, Councillor Maxwell?
Not at this moment. To be honest, I haven't gone over it. I haven't done my homework. Sorry.
Okay.
I didn't see it in the package. I did the package online. I didn't see it there online. Yes, I missed it. I did the packet on. Sorry, go ahead. What did you say? I didn't hear it. Sorry.
I said as a councillor and a member of council, that is our requirement, right? To review what's presented to us in our packages so that we can have proper discussion. Right?
Normally I would have. I reviewed it online. I didn't see this information online.
I'm not pulling you. The same responsibility.
Do I get a detention?
If you want one, I guess we could arrange one. I don't know.
Just joking.
Okay, Councillor Olmsted, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Part 24. Yeah, part
Of
24 on page 23.
Of the old?
The old one, but It
The old
says
one.
that no member of council or local board shall seek specific advice from any member of the municipal. So who are we supposed to ask? Like,
What item is that, sorry?
oh, part 24 on page 23. Part
On page
24,
20. Okay, part 24, yeah.
and then number 4.
Yep.
So if he says each member of council and local board has an individual responsibility to satisfy him or herself as to whether he or she has a pecuniary conflict of interest in accordance with legislation. So where are we supposed to ask if we're not supposed to ask our staff? I don't know. I guess we have a good feel of it, but I just, we need to
We
have some
do have
resource
an
to go to just in case. Yeah, but it costs a lot of money.
Not to ask a question, it doesn't.
Pardon
Cindy,
me?
do you have offer there?
I was just going to say exactly what you just said. If you're looking for advice, part of the mandate of the Integrity Commissioner is to provide advice on items such as that.
Yep.
And you're correct. Thus far, any advice that has been requested or any questions that have been asked, we haven't been charged for anything.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they can't charge us. I'm just saying thus far, we haven't been charged.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Olmsted?
No, thank you.
No? Okay, Councillor Shipham?
I have nothing at this time.
Okay. Okay, so if you have any questions, I'll volunteer Cindy's time to answer them, okay? Thank you. Okay, so next item on the agenda is the educational item for Q and R. Then F, Municipal World, it's educational as well. So next item here on the agenda is 7, and it's information letters. Are there any information letters in there that you would like to discuss, Councillor Cross?
I liked the N and O.
N
and O. And I did have a question. This is just maybe me being naive, but I saw that there was another provincial cabinet shuffle. This isn't the first time. Do they do that on a regular basis with our MPs? And I don't understand why they do that. Can you clarify?
Sometimes people sometimes ministers don't toe the line, or maybe say something that the Premier doesn't agree with or goes against party lines. And then when a shuffle comes up, then some individuals are moved out of the higher prestigious chairs and put in the back benches or given a lower, yeah, okay. So it's kind of like a detention, okay, or punishment for not following the party lines or stepping outside of those lines.
Okay, I like the idea of N, that the municipal land transfer tax stays within the municipality. I think that's a great idea. I don't know if they'll go for it. It's just another way to maybe have some revenue stay in our municipality. And the one from town of Cochrane, I thought was an interesting thing because women do get a lot of tests done and there's no charge usually. And if men have very few tests to be done and if they have to be charged, they don't tend to want to get it done. So, I mean, I know it's insignificant in some ways, but I like to support that one if we can.
Okay. That's O. All right. Councillor Maxwell, are there any letters in there that tweaked your interest?
No. No,
No?
nothing. I would just stick to council, stick within our own township whenever possible.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted, was there any letters in there that,
I just saw the, we have the official plan. Do we have a hard copy at the office for others to review?
Not yet, because amendments
Not
have
yet, no.
been made to
Didn't do
the
yet, no.
official plan.
Okay.
And the amendments haven't been sent, the official plan with the amendments hasn't been sent to us yet.
Okay. Oh, that's the only question I had. Oh, and yeah, finally, we got the thing saying that the Ontario parks are free. Yay. That's it.
From Monday to Thursday, right?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman, was there any letters in there that, are of interest, to you supporting or responding to or commenting on?
I thought, and the municipal land transfer tax was a good idea as well, to try and keep
Okay.
money in Calvin.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
But other than that,
all right. So can we support those two then, at our next, meeting, please? Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is information and letters available. It's Bereavement Authority of Ontario, an audit report for 2020 and potential upcoming changes to the Funeral, Burial, and Cremation Services Act of 2002 and or its regulations. No, I can't find it.
It's not in your package. It's
Oh,
a
okay.
very thick document. If anyone would like a copy of it, I can email it to them, but it's, I don't know, 150 pages or something like that, so I didn't print it out.
So there's also talk of an increase in fees, is that correct? For, how do you call it, cemetery purchases or whatever? Yep.
Yes, in January of 2022. They're doing a review right at the moment, and there probably will be increases in January of 2022.
Okay. Anything else there? Anybody having interest in that information letter? No? Okay. Next item on the agenda is old and new business. Councillor Cross, do you have any old or new business?
No, I don't.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell, do you have any old or new business?
I have 3 items I'd like to bring up, totally unrelated to one another. The first one is I think we're going into phase 3, phase 3, I guess, in a couple weeks, 14 to 16, I believe it is. And we're allowed 25 people indoors for meetings. So we'll be going back to meetings in person. So
Well,
that's
we'd have to bring that forward for a
question
resolution.
I asked to
So
council.
we voted to not hold meetings, okay? And it was partly because of regulations. And I'm going to ask Cindy's input here. I think that if we want to do that, then we'll have to bring it up and vote on whether we do it or not. Is that correct? Yes or no? Cindy?
Correct.
Okay. So if that means, if we want to do that, then we have to have a resolution put forward to do that.
Sure, yes. I would also put in the resolution that if someone doesn't feel comfortable, they can participate via Zoom, or I don't know if we have that technology set up or not yet, but perhaps this might be a good time to spend some money on getting make sure we have all the equipment so that some people can be live while others are electronic. I also mentioned Cindy about the possibility of getting plastic barriers around our counselor desks with the money that we have for COVID relief expenses. I was at a meeting at Matawan recently, and they had plastic shields around their desk, and it seemed to work well for that meeting. It gave an extra layer of protection. So is that going to be a directive to bring that back, or?
We can bring that. I heard one resolution there that, or was there two? There was one about holding public meetings again, and then there was one about purchasing plastic barriers, plexiglass or something, for around the council desk. Was there another one?
Other than I was just suggesting that if someone does not feel comfortable with any staff with this meeting in person, that they can meet by electronically.
Maybe we can incorporate that into the first one about holding public meetings again. And if anyone doesn't feel comfortable in doing that, they could remain at home. But Cindy has her hand up.
I just have to clarify in our procedural bylaw that that's allowed, that we have a hybrid environment. I think we accommodated for that, but I would have to double check it.
Okay. So what, does that mean you're going to check and see if we can do that? Or
if we incorporated it into our procedural bylaw, then I can incorporate it into the resolution, the motion to go back to physical meetings.
Okay.
If it's not already in our procedural bylaw, then we're going to also have to amend our procedural bylaw to incorporate a hybrid environment.
Okay.
And then the plastic barriers, I can just write a motion for that as well.
Okay, so does hybrid environment mean some people would attend in person and some people would attend electronically?
Yes.
Is that what that means?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does that meet your needs, Councillor Maxwell?
Sounds interesting, yeah.
Okay.
Possibility. The other item I had was I saw a letter on Friday from a Kelvin resident requesting gravel on Stewart's Road. And I thought that we should decide that as council, whether we want to do that or not, and take the responsibility off of the staff so that we can give directive on whether to do that or not. And the directive comes from council, so it's not a directive coming from staff. And I think that we should decide whether gravel is put on Stewart's Road or not this summer. That should be a decision of council.
I have a thought on that one. The road superintendent is responsible for the roads in the municipality, and the road superintendent is responsible for determining when gravel needs to be applied to whatever road, or when ditching needs to be done, or when a culvert needs to be replaced or whatever. So I don't think it's the role of council to determine that. I think it is the role of the road superintendent. And that email we received, I don't think was received in time for to be placed on the agenda for this meeting. So I think it was going to be put on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, we can discuss it then. Sure. The other thing, one other thing I wanted to bring up was brought to my attention that sometimes that sometimes when I speak and I get on a bit of a rant, I see things that might have hurt some people's, might have offended some people, and that's the last thing I want to do. Is offend anybody, but someone mistakenly thought that I was talking about them, and I was saying a person, or I can't remember exactly what I said. And I think I apologize to people in a letter, and hopefully it's okay. But it did make me think twice about how I speak, and going forward, I plan to be more careful on selecting my words, and also I find right now the negativity level is quite high on council, and I'd like to try to lower that and try to have a more positive meeting environment and more resolution oriented. And so I'm personally trying to be less negative on anything when I say something and when I speak, and that's what I'm going to do moving forward. So I'm going to be much more careful. I'm going to be trying to be less negative because I don't see why this job has to be so negative. But I found that over the experience of being a counselor, that it's like, whoa, the negativity level in here is like crazy high. And I mean, I work in similar environments at my shop, or we have 4 or 5 people work together, and there's so much harmony there, and peace and cooperation going on. And in this group of people, we don't have a lot of that. And I'm just going to try to work towards being more considerate to my fellow counselors and staff. And it's going to be, I'm going to start with the man in the mirror, as it says, sort of. And I'm going to try to be more positive and be less negative. That's all I want. It's kind of all I want to say. I don't know if I said it right or not, but I should have wrote something down, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Councilor Massel. Do you have anything old or new, Councilor Olmsted?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything old or new, Councilor Shippen?
Yeah, I would. I'd like to address some of the comments that was made during our last meeting by Councillor Maxwell. Just because I'm not really clear on how he's coming to the decisions or where he's getting his information. You had stated that most of our complaints are from the staff and that they should not be able to use the integrity commissioner to resolve a complaint. But in keeping with our council staff relations policy, the staff go to the clerk treasurer with their complaint. And when it's regarding a council member, the complaint goes to the integrity commissioner. Also, in keeping with our code of conduct, the complaint can be submitted directly to the integrity commissioner. Regarding the meeting on the 25th of February 2020, you had stated at that time it was hard for Mr. Grant to know if he had a conflict of interest, as it was not straightforward and it was very complicated. This was in regards to his wife bringing up a complaint regarding the hall and the staff involved in the renovations. Fact, Mr. Grant called the integrity commissioner on the 8th of February 2020 to ask if this item was deemed a conflict for him. And fact, on the 24th of February 2020, Mr. Grant received advice regarding his obligations under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. And he was advised that he did have a deemed pecuniary interest and must declare in writing and not influence the decision of council before or after the meeting. Fact, on the 25th, Mr. Grant did not declare his conflict. He did participate in the discussion. He did move a motion that the hall be opened earlier. And in his interview, he admitted all this. He went against the advice provided as he felt he had no pecuniary interest, and he acted the way he did, and he stated that it was his decision and his alone. You also implied that some members were in cahoots to get rid of a certain councillor and that it looked like they succeeded. This is a very serious allegation. Do you have proof? You stated that that is the way it looked to a lot of people in the community. How do you know this? Are they calling or emailing you with regards to this incident? I would like to think the township would call everyone and not just you with regards to this, if they were upset about it. I think the council would like to see any complaints you may have so it can be addressed with transparency and full facts, not innuendo and personal opinions. E4M is not out to get anyone. They're here to assist with very confusing rules set out in the many different acts that we have. They don't care who's on our council, only that they follow the rules laid out for them. Even we as councillors are not involved in day-to-day business as the staff work for the township, not for the councillors. In order to deal with the so-called division in the township, The council should be made aware of what the public believes the division to be. You seem to know what that is. Can you please provide proof and evidence, not innuendo or half-truth? You also kept stating that this was your opinion. Please keep to the facts if you're going to blame others for what's been happening in the township. And the old adage that if you can't say something nice, then nothing should be said at all, unless you can support your opinion with facts. And that's all I have to say.
Oh, Christine. You're young counselor, you'll see. I wish you all the success in council. You'll find out, unfortunately. You said a lot, so I'm not going to answer it all right now because I'd have to review the letter. But basically, we all try to do our best, and picking out a part of video like word by word. I don't think that's what we wanted to do when we went with like putting our videos live like that. And it's just I'm trying to be positive, so I'm not going to take up the fight. I'm just going to say, I'll try to communicate as best we can, and just I'm not going to go on these negative trips anymore. So if you want to fight with somebody, you'll have to pick somebody else because I'm not up for it.
That's it then? Okay. I'm going to request that we modify the agenda in future, at a future meeting, a resolution be brought forth, that we modify the agenda and item number 9 be removed. All right. And then if somebody has something that they want to bring up at a council meeting, then they will submit it to the clerk, and it will be, you will be given an item here for you to present it. If the clerk has something that she or he going forward, whoever, needs to, information they need to provide us, they can do a report similar to the report that Cindy does now for the emergency control group. So I'm going to suggest that we do that going forward to get this number 9 out of the agenda. But we can discuss that at a future meeting, next meeting, actually.
I really like the old and new part of the portion. That's the only area where you get a chance to bring up something that may have come up, after the Friday or after the deadline. And so I really like that section, the old and new business. I think it's an important part of having the opportunity to speak.
But I can understand what you're saying, but it leaves
surprises.
A possibility of negativity or.
Okay.
And I'm not suggesting that's what happened to me. I'm just thinking that a lot
sure.
of
Good point.
Most municipalities don't have it, okay,
yeah.
on their agenda, all right? And there's some other things in our agenda too that a lot of municipalities don't have in their agenda. This agenda is an old agenda, and it's probably time to be updated a little bit. So I'm just asking that we can bring that back at our next meeting and take a look at it and discuss it further, and then vote on whether we're going to change it or not. Any thoughts on that, Councillor Croft?
I liked the idea of looking at it. Old and new business is interesting to have in the sense of catching up on something that maybe has happened at another meeting that the rest of council wasn't a part of. But if it's left open to our procedure is to talk about things that are on the agenda, and if we're not prepared, whether to respond to things that were said or even not prepared in the fact of making comments and then later on regretting the comments that were made because you weren't prepared. Maybe this would take care of that issue as well. I think we all should be able to know what's coming in front of us in a meeting, so we all have a opportunity to take the time to think about it, to form our opinions and our thoughts, and then be able to respond responsibly. So yes, I'll be looking forward to talking about that at the next meeting.
Do you have anything further, Councilor Maxwell?
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm going to think about it. Yeah, it's interesting. I heard your pros for it, and you almost got me convinced.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Olmsted?
Nothing further.
Councilor Shippen?
No, I think it's a good idea to get rid of it. Old and new business to me seems to mean it's something that was already discussed on an agenda, not something that just kind of pops out of nowhere.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so thanks everyone for that. Next item on the agenda is the accounts approval report. I think we have a resolution for that. I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one, please. Councilor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councilor Olmsted, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. We have a resolution moved by Councilor Cross and seconded by Councilor Olmsted. That's a disbursement dated July the 8th, 2021 in the amount of $61,020.02 and July 13th, 2021 in the amount of $4,822.79 be hereby authorized and passed for payment. Any discussion or questions, Councilor Cross?
No discussion.
Councilor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councilor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Councilor Shippen?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'll call for a vote to accept these disbursements. Councilor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councilor Maxwell?
Yes.
Councilor Olmsted?
Yes.
Councilor Shippen?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. So this resolution is also carried. Okay, so before we go, okay, I just want to say that when we do get emails from somebody, it can be a resident, it could be anybody, we have to be careful when we're replying to all, okay? Because it could be considered as a meeting, all right? And we're not supposed to have meetings, okay, with email. So I'm just bringing that up, all right? It was brought to my attention, so I'm just sharing that with you. All right? Okay, so we don't have any closed portion. We don't have business arising from a closed portion or no notice of motions. So our last item on the agenda is our adjournment. So we should have a motion for that as well. Can I get you to move that one, Councilor Cross?
Yes, I can.
And Councilor Maxwell, can you second that one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we have a resolution moved by Councilor Cross and seconded by Councilor Maxwell that this regular meeting of council now be adjourned at 9:34 p.m. Any discussion, Councilor Cross?
No discussion.
Councilor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councilor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Councilor Shippen?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm gonna call us to a vote then, to terminate the meeting at 9:34. Counselor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Counselor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Counselor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Counselor Shippen, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So meeting's adjourned. Everybody stay safe. And we'll see you all next Tuesday night. All right? So take care, guys. Have a good evening.
Good night.
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 Right.